What's up, everybody? I hope this is working. I mean, it says recording.
It says it's being recorded.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go.
I
just looked at the top. Okay, it says record. Okay.
And scene.
What's up, everybody? It's ImmaLetYouFinish, show number 208. I still cannot believe we're over 200 shows on the Pantheon Podcast Network. And get over to that start engine if you haven't. Become an investor in Pantheon.
Yes.
We've been telling you, do it.
I know. You can become rich, bitch.
You want to
or at least get a really nice shout out from Christian.
You want to own a little piece of these two fools that you like listening to every week?
Yeah, people have been trying to own our asses for years.
Head over to the Pantheon start engine and you can have a piece of us. Okay, kids, here we go. All
right. Well, we have an amazing guest today. A great writer, Robert Hilburn, who has written a book. As you'll see from our conversation, it's one of those artists where you go, really? I had no idea. The Biography of Randy Newman, A Few Words in Defense of Our Country. It's a great book, topical as hell, as you will see. So we're really excited that Robert's going to join us. He's an acclaimed writer, was a music critic for the LA Times for a gazillion years. And he's also written biographies of Johnny Cash, Paul Simon, and Bruce Springsteen. So definitely we're on a singer-songwriter tip today, and we will get into that. But before we get into that, Beyonce's, what's with Netflix? They're just throwing money around right now, right?
They are trying.
they're like drunk sailors at this
They
point.
want to be in the live sports arena really badly. And so now they've been throwing a lot of money at all of these sports leagues, and they're getting all of these events. Because yes, what the fans need is to be able to have to watch their favorite sports across 4 different streamers.
Yes, I was going to say.
2 or 3 different networks.
Because it's so hard to find football in this country. It's like some obscure, God, I have to search everywhere to find it. How are people existing?
I mean, it's like literally now how you get football is Monday nights on ESPN.
Right.
Thursday nights, which used to be on regular TV, Thursday nights on Prime Video.
On Amazon, right, yeah.
Friday and a Sunday on, network TV.
Yes,
and now on Christmas Day on Netflix. And if you have Netflix, you get the bonus on Christmas of seeing the lady who's become her own personal home shopping network, Beyonce.
So wait a minute. I mean, she's going to do a halftime show, so it's 15 minutes? She's going to perform for 15 minutes?
So probably like between 12 and 15 minutes, yeah.
Whatever. Bless her.
Why did it...
Whatever. It just seems so really stupid. And honestly, I feel like it undercuts what's great about the halftime show is that it's the halftime show.
Let me say this. Every big game, like the Thanksgiving Day games, they always have a halftime show. Remember last year was Dolly Parton. So those big holiday games do. However, when you decide on Christmas Day to have Beyonce as your halftime act, it's kind of like a month and a half from the halftime act.
Yeah, it's a little kind of, and the halftime act that her husband's company produces, Trouble in Paradise.
No. Or what did you say last time? Jay, we're running out of cash. It's time to hit the road. I don't know. It just...
Sir and Rumi need braces.
Where it should have seemed super exciting, I was just kind of like, oh, okay.
Well, I think because in coming in light and after, and I want to just a minimal amount of time in this because the whole thing it confuses me, especially since I got Jake Paul mixed up with Logan Paul, and I don't know who either one of these Pauls are, and I feel like my brain has shrunk 7 sizes too small by even knowing. It feels like all of these things now are just cash grabs. They're just total cash grabs, which we do not begrudge people making money, but for God's sakes, Mike Tyson is 58 years old. He almost died for real, like 3 months ago. You could have beaten. I mean, come on. It's just ridiculous. Why didn't the guy just write Mike Tyson a check, say, "You're my favorite boxer. You're a legend. Let me get a little something, something for you for the holidays." It's ridiculous.
It was so.
Bad is the
It
word
made
you're
me
looking for.
sad.
It's sad. It is sad. It is
Because
sad.
I hate to see, and I have one friend, we were going back and forth. It's like, listen, but he got the money. I'm like, in America, we seem to think getting money is the solution to everything. Yes, we need money. The world needs money. You need money to live. But I think legacy is really important.
Oh, yeah.
And I think when you drag and trash your legacy, to me, that's just, it sucks.
Yeah, it was sad. It was
and
sad.
it was sad to see.
I didn't watch it because
he looked like
a 58-year-old man who almost died 2 months ago.
He looked like he should have been in the ring. He looked like he was somewhere else. It just wasn't right. It just didn't feel right. And it's like, great, now you got your money, but this just was
the
not great.
And then it kind of like to have
from somebody who never should have even been in your radar enough for you to step in a ring with him.
Oh, not at all. Exactly. Exactly. Can you imagine? No, the whole thing was just, it was tacky. I didn't watch it. I don't like boxing. I think I have my own feelings about boxing.
And I love boxing. I'm a boxing fan. I grew up on boxing. My parents used to host fight parties for all of the big fights. You know, that was back when all the big fights would come on HBO because there was no pay-per-view. So, you know, if you had HBO, that's where the fights were. I don't know. It just felt tacky.
Yeah, it felt very tacky. It felt like a perfect encapsulation of the culture right now.
Absolutely.
A money grab for the sake of a money grab. And you know what? God bless. I hope the check clears. It was almost like salt in the wounds for the guy to come out, the whoever Paul, come out the next day and go, "Oh, he's like my favorite boxer. It was an honor." It's like, really? Like, shut up. Like, yeah, it was obnoxious. All right. So it's award season. Again, it feels like it's always award season. So the Songwriters Hall of Fame nominees just came out, and they elect. There are 6 inductees, 26 nominees, which is a lot. And the ceremony is until June. So this is a very more niche. Obviously, it's not televised. Nobody performs, I don't think, but it's not televised. That's for sure.
This is the one that people who write songs really want.
No, this is the real one.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
It's not critics. It's not, a string player. It's peers, and it's really great. All right. So the criteria, it has to be 20 years since your first kind of noticeable song. So there's a lot of various, it's mixed up. There's Eminem is nominated. All but 5 of the nominees are solo artists, meaning some of them. All right. So I'm going to run through some of the nominees, and I will say the one that blows my mind. There are 2 that blow my mind that they are not in there yet.
Let's see if they're the
Winwood.
same.
Steve Winwood. Are you kidding me? And Dan Penn and Spooner Oldham.
And my 2 that I gagged that weren't in there are Narada Michael Walden. How is he not in there?
Yeah.
And Walter Astanafioff.
Well, that's because Mariah got in last year, so they got but how? Yeah,
but he's not just Mariah. How, you know what I mean? It was just kind of like.
But the Dan Penn and Spooner Oldham thing, these guys have been writing hits since the 60s. They define. We talked about Cissy Houston passing. Sweet Inspiration, The Letter, I'm Your Puppet. I mean, on and on. I mean, defined Southern soul. All right.
Mike Chapman.
Is Mike Chapman in? Yeah.
No, he's on this list. He wrote the best. He wrote Love is a Battlefield, Kiss You All Over, Stumbling It, Ballroom fucking Blitz. Do you know how much I love
Ballroom
this song,
Blitz, he deserves it. Not for Love is I love Ballroom Blitz.
But Ballroom Blitz alone.
David Gates for Everything I Own. Everything I Own is a perfect song.
Yeah.
All right. So we can, George Clinton. Yeah. It's always one of these things where you're like, my head is about to explode.
Rodney Jerkins.
Well, in defense, Rodney Jerkins by the criteria is a new jack. I mean, by the criteria, Mike Love I mean, he and Brian Wilson wrote those songs together.
Right.
It's just a weird, I don't like Alanis Morissette. I think she's a completely inconsequential human being. But it's not, yeah, all of
I
it
love
is like,
Alanis Morissette, and I
I
will
know.
say, but she wrote those songs, and she wrote a lot of really great songs. You may not like her, but she's had huge records that, to me, stand the test of time.
Oh,
And
really?
including, oh yeah, I love Alanis Morissette. I love her.
You ought to know is like feminism for men. It's the word. It's the stupidest song ever. Sorry, I find her to be annoying in the extreme. She sounds like a barnyard animal when she sings. I don't like her. Yeah, she writes songs.
Thank you,
Just
India.
Oh, that's
Thank
a
you,
horrible song too.
Clarity.
And for completely confusing what the meaning of ironic is. It is not ironic if it rains on your wedding day. What's the irony in that? There's no irony in rains. You know what it's like to try to teach the word. That's not ironic. That's not ironic. All right, yeah, but Janet Jackson. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, as you know, my feelings about Sheryl Crow, but yeah, but the ones, like I said, that blew my mind. Steve Winwood, he has been writing songs since the 60s. Eminem's nominated. He can wait. You know what? Because honestly,
NWA.
Yeah, they can definitely wait.
I thought that was an interesting one there. Tommy James.
And the Shondells?
No, just Tommy James.
Dragging the line. Dragging the line. Crystal Blue Persuasion. I love that song.
Right.
Crystal Blue Persuasion. I mean, NWA to me, and I say this as someone who likes hip hop, feels like a virtue signaling.
The Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, which half of the Doobie Brothers? The first half or the second half?
Okay, so it's Tom Johnston, Michael McDonald, and Patrick Simmons.
That's
that's
Michael
the
McDonald
original,
came
isn't
in.
it? That's,
Michael McDonald came in. Michael McDonald is the second half of the like Long Train Running. All that stuff is the first.
Okay. Because it's listen to the music, taking it to the streets. Blackwater. What a fool believes. Long Train Running.
All right, so it's the entire. It's the entirety. It's the entirety of their. It's everybody. Because there's that moment. It's like Chicago where they went from one group to another group. I can live with that. I mean, I'm not a Doobie
Bryan Adams.
Okay, can I just tell you? Bryan Adams is in this? I didn't see his name.
Bryan Adams. Mm-hmm.
All right, can I tell you something?
Mm-hmm.
I hate saying guilty because I'm not guilty about it at all. I love Bryan Adams.
Bryan Adams is an amazing singer-songwriter who's had some great songs. I like Bryan Adams. Bryan Adams
my God,
great.
Summer of '69, Run to You, Cuts Like a Knife. I love me some Bryan Adams. I stopped listening to him with the Everything I Do for You. I don't like schmaltzy Bryan Adams. He's a great photographer too.
Boy George.
Okay, where are you seeing these names? I'm going over it. Oh, Boy
on the
George.
Songwriters Hall of Fame website.
Excuse me. I went to the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
But here's the thing, right under performing songwriters, the first name is Bryan Adams.
You know what it is? Performing. It's
George.
Performing. All right. But Bryan Adams, Bryan Adams, and I love Roxette, but they're not.
Everybody loved Roxette. Roxette was a moment. Everybody loved Roxette.
Church of the Heart. I can listen to that all the day. I love Bryan Adams. I love everything about Bryan.
I loved fucking Ace of Base. They're about to have a docu-series on Ace of Base that I will completely be watching.
The neo-Nazi. Yeah, I could do without Ace. Oh, that's a fact. He was a neo-Nazi. Read about it.
Wait, what?
Yes, read about it.
I saw the fucking sign, Ace of Base.
Yeah, who else would have been? Yeah, one of the guys in is like sort of, you'll like him a little bit less.
You are such a dream crusher. You just come in.
Or someone who reads.
Dream
That was a
crusher.
big thing at the time. It came out that he was very right with. Read. All right, well, anyway, so those are the nominees. It'll be decided in June. I just can't believe there's 6. They all deserve to be in. Just put them all in. What the fuck? A lot of crossovers.
This is a very
Hall of Fame.
This is a very accomplished class.
But I will say
extreme,
Eminem. Yeah. I mean, Lose Yourself, without a doubt. I mean, let's face it.
He does have a thick catalog, and people love him. He has you cannot take that from him. I'm not taking it from him, I'm just saying he absolutely does have a catalog. But when you look at this list,
Right.
does he?
He's the weakest link.
But he's got that thing that they
Yeah,
all
but okay.
love.
No, but here's the thing. Is he a really good rapper? Yes. Does he have a really great flow? Yes. Is he a great lyricist? I don't
Well,
know.
people consider him, yes, they do. And
Well, but
that's why a lot of that catalog holds up, right? Because the songs are good.
no.
Why are the songs
No,
good?
I think it holds up for another reason. I just think he's been I like Eminem on a lot of I think he's been treading water stylistically. NWA, I have there are two songs as far as I'm concerned with NWA. And I'm really tired of Dr. Dre. Look, balloons are going up now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm tired of the dick sucking of Dr. Dre at this point. I really, I mean, Dr. Dre should see if he can get into Trump's cabinet since he's been credibly accused of sexual assault. Clearly, that's the criteria. But I digress. So anyway, you know how Court and I, we love a theme. We love a theme. Don't we? Don't we love a theme? Don't we love a motif? Oh God.
I'm singing a theme.
Oh, that's a theme song.
Oh, same thing.
Thank you for being a friend. That's a
Gling,
theme.
gling, gling,
Okay.
gling,
Well,
gling.
speaking of themes, Randy Newman, who we're going to talk about, wrote like every cool cartoon song and then some. All right. So we started thinking about who are some of our favorite singer-songwriters. And, it's a weird term, right? Because you could say a singer who writes a song. Are they a singer-songwriter or are they a singer who writes a song? So because it's our show and our determination, we decided to make it anything we goddamn wanted it to be because that's our right as Americans, right?
And most time people think of singer-songwriter, they think of it as a genre. I'm like, no, there are a lot of people who write what they sing, which is, and listen, there are people who are amazing interpreters of other people's words, right? Whitney Houston did not write, but she was an amazing interpreter of other people's words. Celine Dion does not write, but she doesn't write. But she's an amazing interpreter of other people's words.
Well, that's a gift. That's
it really is. Because the truth is, the people who there's something about the emotion that you get from somebody who sat down and they wrote the songs that they sing. Because it just comes from a different place. Like, it really does. Like the first person I thought about was somebody that I play quite often still, and that's Fiona Apple, right? Fiona Apple to me.
Amazing.
I couldn't even picture her singing someone else's songs because you can tell the way she sings those words that they meant something. They came from parts of her life. It's something coming out of her. Her third album, Extraordinary Machine.
I love it. Extraordinary.
Is extraordinary. Yeah, Extraordinary Machine.
Extraordinary works.
Right. Extraordinary.
It's extraordinary.
Listen, y'all, I've only had one cup of coffee and a roll lightly buttered. A girl is a mess. It is just
so good.
I love that album, and I love that there's two versions of that album.
There's
the one that she did, which is very underproduced, and when she handed it in, Epic was like, "We cannot put this out." Took the record from her, had it produced and cleaned up to sound more slick and polished, and then right before they were putting that one out, she just dumped and released her original version onto the internet,
gangster.
which I love her version, which is more strong. I love both. And I get why they were like, this is a little too raw, but I love that raw really gives you emotion.
No, that's who she was. Yeah. Do you ever heard Natalie Cole's version of Criminal?
No.
Oh, listen to it. It's
Natalie
fantastic.
Cole did a cover of Criminal?
Yes. I'm shocked of all people that you don't know.
I can't even picture that.
Me neither. Listen to it.
Okay.
That's your homework for tonight.
Okay. No, listen, I just think that there's something about the emotion, like when she's banging that piano and singing those lyrics, that it's just coming from someplace just deep within.
Upper West Side Crazy. That's where it's coming from. Yeah. And I love her for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love her for it. I love everything about her. And she's one of those, as far as I'm concerned, never has to put out another record again because she has made her bones. Well, we're talking about women. I'll switch to women. I have two other people. Kirsty MacColl, the late Kirsty MacColl. Oh my God. So Kirsty MacColl is best known for They Don't Know, which she wrote, and then was the Tracy Ullman, the theme song for the Tracy Ullman show. and I guess Fairy Tale of New York, which is, a perennial Christmas smash. But she's so much more than that. She died very tragically in 2000 in a motorboat accident in front of her children. Just brutal, brutal, brutal. I know I'm
Oh, is
giving.
that what happened? I knew that she had passed away. I didn't realize
Yeah,
what
no, she was
happened.
killed.
Oh,
She's
wow.
daughter, English folk royalty. Her dad was Ewan McCall. She was married for a while to Steve Lillywhite, who's a very famous producer, and she sang a lot. Um, so her first big album, which I play at least every 2 weeks, is Kite, which came out in 1989. She covered the Smiths. She covered the McGarrigle sisters. She covered the Kinks, and a great interpretive singer again, and just a great, very political, without hitting you over the head, political, great singer, unbelievable songwriter. There's a guy down at the chip shop swears he's Elvis. A wonderful song. She was on Stiff Records for a while. In 91, she put out Electric Landlady, which had Walking Down. She was kind of incorporating hip hop a little bit, but it worked. Like, she got it. Titanic Days came out in 93, and her last album was Tropical Brainstorm in 2000. And she had been working a lot with Latin musicians. Just a phenomenal, phenomenal. I mean, she's one of those people when whenever somebody posts something about her on internet, people just go, "Oh my God, Kirsty MacColl." And I got to interview her, and she was just, she was just like you. I could relate to her, I guess. We're the same age. She's a mom, blah blah blah. But just a songwriter, and an artist interpreter. She's one of those people. If you want to know how great the Smiths songs are, when you take the Morrissey component out of it, listen to her versions of them, because then you go, "Oh, these are like really good songs," and I don't have to put up with that annoying Nazi singing. Nazis, that's my word of the day. Nazi. It's like Pee Wee Herman. Nazi. Yay. All right. So she's Kirsty MacColl. We'll post all these. All right. Your next one, please.
My next one is a noise that only Black people can hear.
No, I'm sorry. Okay. Take that back right now, because I know where you're going with it.
Tina Marie.
Take it back.
You wrote a lot of Black music, and you were steeped in Black music. You wrote for Black music magazines.
I know.
So you don't count.
I know. I'm a quality white.
The only time that white people really got Tina Marie was Lover Girl. That was her only real pop hit. But Tina Marie.
Do you still hear me? Okay,
yeah,
good.
I still hear you.
Okay, good.
The
mic fell. I got so excited about Tina Marie, the mic dropped.
Dropping mics and all.
Well, dropping mics is something you're supposed to do, but not when it's a mic that's sitting on a desk. Square Biz was a big hit. Square Biz was a big hit.
Square Biz, yes, on Black radio. It was not a pop hit. It was not a pop hit. You know what I mean? So it was a Black hit, but not a pop hit. And the thing is, when Tina got finally to her, I want to say let's see, 1, 2, 3. Was when she got to her third album is when she started producing her own albums. And that's Irons in the Fire. So that's writing. All songs are written by Tina Marie except for one song, Tune In Tomorrow, which she had a co-writer. She wrote all the songs and produced it. And that's the album with I Need Your Lovin', Irons in the Fire, You Make Love in the Springtime, First Class Love, Young Love. Just amazing, amazing, amazing record.
She's one of those people when you want to pay, like, guess if they're white or Black, it's like her and Bobby Caldwell are always the ones.
And then again, the follow-up album, It Must Be Magic. And that's Square Biz, which was the one song on the album she had 2 songs on the album that had co-writers. Square Biz is her and Alan McGreer, and The Ballad of Cradle Rob and Me, which is her and Jill Jones. And we could do a whole show on Jill Jones and how amazing she is as a singer, a songwriter who's
Did you hear the record she did with, I'm sorry, did you hear the record she did, her last record that she did with, Manny Fresh and all those guys?
Yes.
I think it was Manny Fresh, Congo Square. I interviewed her once for Double XL, and I actually did liner notes for the Greatest Hits record. No, she's great. She's great. I mean, she got overshadowed because of Rick James. She got the association with Rick James
because he wrote and produced her first album, right? But it's kind of like all the attention goes to like she was molded by him, which she absolutely was not.
No, she came in fully formed.
And she was a great songwriter. I wish people she's got a big catalog.
And a
I
great
think,
musician.
and I think people need to really go and dig into her full catalog beyond just maybe the radio hits that they know, and
No, she's
understand
great.
that her pen game was lethal, and she was a great producer. She could produce herself,
Yeah.
and like you said, an amazing musician and super
The white
talent.
Angela Winbush.
And another one who I think is like
Am I scoring points today? Am I scoring points?
another one who I think
Yeah.
is underrated as
Yeah.
a singer
What we
songwriter.
can do all that kind of. Yeah, no, Tina Marie is yes, but she is a noise only black people and cool white people can
Yeah.
hear.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's keep on the black theme, why don't we? Chocolate Genius, Mark Anthony Thompson. Full disclosure, he's a friend. My son used to babysit for his kids. That and 50 cents will get me on the subway.
And Tessa Thompson's dad.
What?
And Tessa Thompson's dad.
Tessa Thompson and Jayla Thompson's dad as well. So he did 2 albums under his government name, Mark Anthony Thompson, and then he formed Chocolate Genius Incorporated. He's one of those guys that like everybody wants to play with. Like he had the creme de la creme of downtown New York musicians. He worked with Craig Street, he worked with Kevin Salem, he worked with Medeski, Martin and Wood, he worked with Mark Ribot. One of the best live performers, bar none. I've seen him 100 times, also because he's hilarious. Like he does like shtick. Is
he still your neighbor? Is he still your neighbor?
No, he's been in LA for years. But he was my neighbor. He was my neighbor. Great musician, great, not reinventing the wheel. It's not like he's doing something that no one's ever done before, but imagine if you had like a confessional singer-songwriter with a sense of humor who had a soul man's voice. He got lumped in with all that neo-soul crap. He is not a neo-soul artist, but his first album as Chocolate Genius was Black Music in 1998. If for no other reason than My Mom, which remains one of the most beautiful songs about watching a parent age. 2001 God Music, just great stuff. 2005 Black Yankee Rock, which yours truly gets a thank you in the liner. I don't know why, but I do, so I'll take it. And he's been releasing stuff independently. 2010, 2016. He actually has a song out right now with that incredible Pakistani singer Aruj Ajab. I know he does a lot of soundtrack work too. He did the soundtrack for the Beth Ann Hardison film.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does a lot of soundtrack work. He does a lot of stuff with Roger Gouverneur Smith, who never remembers me every time he meets me. Every time he meets me, he goes, no, every time he meets me, Courtney. Not once, not twice. 175 times I've met this guy. And I'm like, hey. And he's like, and you are? And I'm like, oh.
No, there's a certain singer-songwriter who I know knows who I am, who pulls that shit every single time. And
I know who it is, and I'll say it afterwards.
And my
I know who it is.
And I give him nothing because I'm like,
no, I know who it is. I know who it is.
I'm like, I'm not doing this with you.
He's your human dartboard. I know exactly who it is.
It's like,
I know exactly who it is.
I'm not doing this with you.
On our last show, we will do the bitch, please. All right, do your last one, and then I'll do one more. I'll do. Should I do the one that I review or the one that I made out with?
Both. My last one is one that I hope now that there is a documentary on his life that people actually pay attention to more than just his voice, and that is Luther Ronzoni Vandross. Luther. Absolutely.
I just love the idea that his mother was stirring a pot of noodles and going,
it was like Ronzoni.
Ronzoni.
Luther Vandross, I think when we talk about him, everybody talks about his voice. Rightfully so. No one can sing like him. It is amazing to me that there's still not an artist that even comes close to vocally.
Comes close, not even close.
But what people don't talk about enough, and I'm hoping this documentary kind of makes people dig back into the music, is his songwriting. He wrote that first album, he wrote that entire album.
Amazing.
Was an amazing, other than the cover songs that he really made almost more famous
he made his own,
than the original versions. He was an amazing songwriter, and
arranger.
Absolutely, too. If you go through what he did for all those other artists and
Young Americans. That's a Luther Vandross record, man.
On Bette Midler's Thighs and Whispers album. He wrote and produced Jump to It, Aretha Franklin, Get It Right, Aretha Franklin, those two albums. He wrote that Dionne Warwick work, Cheryl Lynn. Luther
Bob is
Vandross
in.
is,
Yeah.
Luther Vandross is absolutely amazing. Amazing. More than singer. His pen game, another one. Lethal.
Yeah. I'm just going to say my two really quickly, because I think one of them, both of them are not, they're not underappreciated, but I just feel like mentioning Paul Westerberg. Paul Westerberg's music with the Replacements made me want to be a 20-year-old boy, and nothing has ever made me want to be a 20-year-old boy. Trust me. Just a great songwriter. To me, like you said, the sign of a great songwriter is when other people cover you and it sounds great, but just a wonderful songwriter. And Bobby Womack, who's one of my personal Jesuses.
Bobby Womack.
One of my personal Jesus. Bobby Womack. Let's do a whole show on freaking Bobby Womack, because Bobby Womack.
And we need to get somebody on who's either written a book or worked with him, because we really
I know
need to
exactly
dig into,
who we could get.
Bobby
Bob Merlis. Bob Merlis.
Then let's get him on
Bobby
and talk about
Womack
Bobby Womack.
is the secret sauce for every record you never knew he was on. Right. Phenomenal guitar player, phenomenal singer, songwriter, if you think you're lonely now, he deserves a star in heaven. Love Bobby Womack, producing great music up until the end. So glad I got to see him perform. He was not at the top of his game. He was ill at that time, but oh my God, Bobby Womack to me is like truth. When you hear him, it is truth. And we need to do a Bobby Womack show.
Absolutely.
No, we need to. All right, you want to take?
We're going to take a break. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back with our guest, Bob Hilburn.
Hello, loyal Pantheon listener. CEO Christian here, and I sincerely hope you're enjoying this podcast episode. I have a very exciting opportunity to share. I'll try to be quick so you can get right back to it. Pantheon has been around for almost 10 years, and I bet some of you listening right now have as well. We thank you, the loyal listeners of our shows. After some rapid growth in the last year, we decided to seek capital investment that will help us level up even more. And after some thought, we decided we needed to reward our loyal listeners like you the first chance at becoming a part owner in our future. Start Engine is equity crowdfunding that is approved by the SEC, a chance for you to get into the startup game. For less than the average price of a concert ticket, you can become a part owner of a new media company with secured shares in Pantheon. Please go to startengine.com/Pantheon for all the detailed information and then sign up to invest. Or just go to startengine.com and type Pantheon Media in the search bar. Pantheon Media, where fans belong, like you. All right, enjoy the rest of your show.
And we're back.
Wait a minute. Oh, there we go. Bob Hilburn has entered the chat.
Good morning. Where are you located?
We are in, I am in Brooklyn. Courtney's in Harlem.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's across the world. So it's a beautiful day. Sunshine, everything here.
Sunshine. You're in LA, right?
Yeah, 58 degrees.
Oh, we're in your honor. We're having brush fires and a drought.
Like parts of New York, like uptown has been on fire. Like there's never fire.
Prospect Park caught on fire.
Well, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't been to New York since the pandemic. I used to be there all the time when I was at the LA Times. But I keep reading these things about all the problems you have. The subway now, this $9 congestion tax.
Oh yeah,
we want that. We want the congestion tax.
It's just wild, huh?
It's a bit of a shit show.
It's a bit of a shit show. Well, what we're all hoping is that I don't know what we're hoping. Yeah, our mayor is. Let's talk about something more uplifting and fabulous instead of an indicted
Okay,
creep.
so are you? I don't see myself on there. You don't need. I don't need to see myself though, right? I mean, it's
Well,
Well, I
because
mean,
you
we-
don't have your
we-
camera on. So, like,
Turn your camera. We'd
if you
like
look-
to see
if
you.
you look down where it says
okay.
video,
So here,
I put on a clean.
yeah.
see?
Oh, get that hat
There
off.
you
Get
are.
that hat off. Get that hat off right now. Right now. All right. Bye. It was really nice meeting you, Bob. I've been a fan for years.
So where is Soto going to go? I mean, is he going to go to the Mets with the Yankees?
Maybe you can go to the Knicks.
I think that they're going to throw. The Yankees are probably going to try to throw a shitload of money at him to stay.
Yeah. But the guy at the Met owner is the wealthiest of them all, so he can top that, couldn't he?
This is true. He absolutely could. Listen, I don't know. The Yankees melted down in
They
the
sure
World
did.
So
Series. They
embarrassing.
melted down so badly. So it's like, would he want to stay there is the big question. If he sees like that they can maybe make a run for it next year. But the Mets kind of, melted down in the playoffs as well, right? So
But we
I think
expect
he's
the
got-
Mets to melt down. That's the difference. You kind of wait for the Mets to implode, whereas the Yankees.
and the Dodgers
know.
are great, right? When people say LA, I'm like, LA just won it all. They show that. I don't think they need to spend a shitload of money to make another run at it, right?
But but they're going to. They're trying
Right.
to get. They got the shortstop from Milwaukee. They're going to bring Betts into the infield. They're
Right.
trying to get Soto.
Oh, you boys with your sports talk.
Yeah, I know. It's just like
I don't know nothing about this sports stuff.
I haven't talked about it, in weeks, but I guess it's just kind of rising up again.
I think
No,
it's
I
going to be the
understand.
battle. Honestly, it's going to be the battle of the dollars, right? Because dollars has since
Yeah, and
who opens up their checkbook and makes
And
it
also, but the
worthwhile?
point is, at every Dodger game, they play Randy Newman's "I Love L.A."
Right.
at the end
What a
of it. So
segue.
there's the tie.
All right. So, I always forget to do. I hold up the book that nobody can see, but I just want to show you that I did read it. A Few Words in Defense of Our Country, the biography of Randy Newman. Okay, so here was my first off, I love the fact that you put all these testimonials from different writers in there.
But you're one of the first people who said that. I don't understand that. A lot of people thought I was just.
Okay, am I your new favorite person? Just say I'm your new favorite
Well,
person.
but Amy, a lot of some critics have said I had a bunch of puffy things from admirers. It doesn't say the admirers are Bob Dylan, Wesley Morris,
No,
Greil Markins.
and Chuck D.
Yes. I mean, the whole point. I'm really rethinking a lot of this because there's been a lot of the podcasts have been very good generally. The artists, the interviewers are informed, but a lot of the book critics don't understand the book. They miss entirely the point of the book, which is saying he has been writing about the problems in America. The guy who wrote "You've Got a Friend in Me," his artistry is really in these other songs, and no one even seems to mention that. They talk about, it's like. They talk about other things. They think that it's a love letter to Randy, and I wonder if I should have, instead of saying the biography, it's really an unconventional biography because the real purpose of the book is to make a case that he's one of the great songwriters in America, and he's been talking about the problems in America. But I don't know how you get that on the cover. It's not.
Well,
enough.
what I'm saying, what's really interesting, he's one of those people. Courtney and I were having this I heard Randy Newman on the radio when I was a teenager, teenager. I heard he was on FM radio and stuff like that. Sail Away to Me. I could sing "We'll Save Australia, Don't Want to Hurt No Kangaroo." That's a great line. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But you sit there and the first thing was like, he wrote that? What was the song you were saying? You think it's going to rain today?
I think it's going to rain today. And there's so many people have covered that song. I had no idea he wrote that. I had no idea he wrote "Mama Told Me Not to Come." I mean,
me neither. I didn't know that either.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, Guilty. I didn't know he wrote Guilty. I didn't know he had anything to do with Everybody's Talking. I didn't know I knew he came from a musical family. I knew like the big songs. And I'm glad that we're so smart that we know this stuff, me and Courtney. what's amazing when you're reading this, I mean, the last line in the book, you must have been writing this up until the last second, because the last line of the book is him talking about, well, we're not going to be assholes and elect Donald Trump. Wah, wah.
It's so funny that the book comes out the week. I mean, it wasn't planned that way. It wasn't, written with any that in style, but it coincidentally comes out the week or before the election.
God, it was like
and
salt in a wound,
I did change that ending. That's funny.
Oh, yeah, really?
Because I was gonna, the next to the last paragraph talks about he and Lenny are sitting in the room. These guys who've known each other forever. His record producers are sitting in a room watching television, hoping that he'll start writing another song. And it says as leave the room, they think, why not? Because it's writing another song is no more unlikely than their journey together. And I said, well, but the title of the book, the point of the book is him writing about problems in America. So I ought to have something, the final word ought to be. And so I asked him again, and he came up with that. So I switched to the last two paragraphs.
Oh, okay.
But that wasn't.
That was just such a bummer, like to sit there and go, oh no.
Well, and someone said, well, gee whiz, what if he wins the election? I said, well, or what if he loses it? It doesn't matter. It's still, the point is made. And that's a great, you picked that up because that's.
No, it's like I'm reading and I'm like, wah, wah.
So why Randy? What made you choose Randy as a topic to write?
Well, I was music critic at the LA Times for 1,000 years. And during that time, I really discovered that what I love is singer-songwriters, and that was from the 1970, let's say, or even the 60s to the 90s. That was the heart of American pop music. I mean, excuse me. It was the passion that I particularly liked. And so when I left the paper to write books, I did a book first on Johnny Cash because I had known him my whole life, and he's a very dramatic figure. I was even at the Folsom Prison concert that he gave. I was the only music reporter there. I wasn't an inmate. I
saw James Brown at San Quentin.
Did you really? Wow.
Yes.
I didn't know he even played there. But anyway, so after that, I want to focus on singer-songwriters.
Okay.
And Dylan comes to mind. And I've interviewed Bob maybe a dozen times. I did a 9-hour interview with him in Amsterdam where he talks about his creative process. It was, but he can't talk to him. And when I do a biography, I want to be able to talk to the person. I don't want to just take things that have been, clip and paste and rethink it and stuff. I want to talk to the person so I can look in their eyes. I can ask them the questions I want to. I can get a feel of the person, get a feel that I really kind of know this person. And so Paul Simon, I thought of it first. But if I did my list of 5 favorite songwriters, there's a lot of people who could vie for 4th. Joni Mitchell, maybe, Neil Young, maybe, Stevie Wonder, maybe, John Prine. I love John Prine, but the first 3 would be Dylan, Newman, and Simon in any order. So I go to Paul first and do him, and then I look around and Randy's the next one. Now it's a hard one because he's not known like Simon and Cash.
Right.
So part of the challenge is introducing people to him. The sub theme could have been, I'm trying to get people to better understand and appreciate him. Okay. I thought he should be better known because those songwriters, those testimonials, Dylan, Simon, Henley, Chuck D, I was trying to show, look, these people all admire him. That wasn't put in there to fill space or to flatter anybody. It was trying to say, if you might not know Randy Newman, but Paul Simon thinks you should. Bob Dylan thinks you should. Linda Ronstadt thinks you should. Okay, that was a strategy. Okay, right. I'm not sure it worked because a lot of people just thought it was being overly praising. Okay, but
no, you have to give a context. The Chuck D one jumped out to me because I thought, there's always this perception that rappers only listen to hip hop and blah, blah, blah. Because Randy, and we'll get into the second, Randy Newman was discussing the same topics in a very different way that Public Enemy was in their own way.
Right. Well, now I was surprised. Also, Nelson George, I thought, had some really interesting comments.
Right.
He didn't do a thing, but because I was just doing an interview, but he had some really interesting thing, thinking that some music was dangerous. He thought when he heard "Sail Away" and stuff like that. He was very helpful. So I thought that was helpful. But the reason when I went to Randy, he didn't want to do it. Didn't want to do a book. He's very insecure. His family told him never brag, never draw attention to yourself. Keep private. Don't let people know your private life because it also distracts from your songwriting. He's cross-eyed. I don't want to have people sit in the audience and say, "Oh, that poor guy, he's cross-eyed," when he's singing a song. So he was very reluctant. And I said, "Look, Randy, the point of the book is going to be your artistry. But in telling that story, you have to kind of you try to find out how that came about, what things happened in his family." And he was difficult in those moments because his whole life he's been trying not to reveal himself in the songs. He's never him singing the song.
It's a character, right?
Character, right?
Character.
So all that's designed to keep people away from him. Okay,
right.
but some of it comes across, and he wasn't comfortable with it, but I think he saw the need for it at one point. And anyway, the story that was the reason I wanted to do it. I wanted to have, I had tremendous admiration for him when I was doing the Simon book. Paul kept talking about Randy. When I interviewed Dylan, we talk about songwriters, he mentions Randy all the time. So I was trying to get this great songwriter better understood in America.
I think talking about with Nelson's quote about dangerous, some of these songs you think, well, first off, just good old boys, talking about a concept record without being called, just the idea of like a middle class or maybe even upper middle class Jewish guy taking on the persona of what we would consider a MAGA person now and humanizing them because we didn't, and it's, I wonder, you talk about dangerous, some of these songs, like could Sail Away get on the radio now?
Well, no, I don't think Sail Away got on the radio then much.
Oh, it didn't?
No. Because look, he got on the radio for You've Got a Friend in Me, Short People, and right. I Love LA. 95% of his other songs have never been heard in America on the radio. Because it confuses the disc jockeys. Who's talking here? Is this guy really, saying this stuff in rednecks as if he believes it? I can't play that. So the songs were too controversial, too confusing in a lot of ways. They were subtle and sophisticated. So these, again, that's part of the goal is to try to get people to listen to these songs. And that's why I spent so much time on the lyrics of putting so many.
I am so glad you did that.
Oh, I know, but that's but some people don't like that. They think you're just,
I'm your new best friend, Bob. Take off that LA Dodger hat and we can be.
And Randy said, I don't usually like lyrics in books, but I think you've done a good job in presenting.
No, you had to do it because first off, because he's a songwriter, obviously, but he's telling. These are not love songs in the traditional sense. These are like how do you not put the lyrics? And for me, having heard a lot of these songs before, but not some of them, and also the way he writes, these were not traditional like hook, chorus.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Amy, he's just so brilliant. He's such, he has all the skills. His family tried to push him into film scores. So he takes music lessons from the age of 5, I think. And then he goes to UCLA, studies music composition. He's as skilled a composer as John Williams and these people. But it's not why he's important. It's these other songs, Again, I think I'm just frustrated that I don't know. I guess I read a couple of reviews. The early reviews were great, and the things from music writers, people from the music side have been understanding it, but the book critics kind of don't quite get it, don't quite know who he is, and they try to summarize who he is, and they don't say why he's important. They don't say that I guess the first 3 paragraphs in the book seem to me lay out the argument. You say that back though most people can hum You've Got a Friend in Me, 95% of his songs aren't like that. They're about racism, sexism, shortcomings in the American character. And then it says, when 2,000 people charged the Capitol building in 2021, millions of Americans are shocked. What's happened to this country? And Randy had been warning him about this for 50 years. And then there's a quote from him saying, I write about things that are shameful in this country. And he says the fact that where you live, one zip code can give you great medical care in a wealthy area, and bad zip code, underprivileged area, can be a death sentence. Now, isn't that
that's pretty much America right now?
That's going to make people think that's what the book is about, but it's somehow. It's like, they think
Bob Mayer. How do you pronounce his name? Mayer or
Mayer. That was a terrific article.
That was a great. Yeah, that was
great.
Really.
That was really good. And there have been some others. There have been, there's a guy, The Atlantic had a really, good review.
Yeah.
Again, if you're coming from the music side, people seem to understand.
We're smarter.
Yeah, but I think they're just familiar with him. See, other people are not, they just don't know who Randy Newman is, kind of, and they're kind of confused. So they want to, and it's not, I guess also they're looking at it as a conventional biography. So they see these testimonials as you just trying to flatter him and stuff, and they say, well, you didn't tell us enough about his personal life. Well, he doesn't tell you, that's really, the good part of it is everybody who knows him, from his children to his mother, to his record producers, to everybody thinks it's perfect. The book is perfect. It's exactly Randy Newman. But other people just don't see, well, you're not, I don't, I'm sorry. I don't mean
because people are used to salacious, right? They think if you have a book, they want salaciousness. They want a gotcha story. They want something that sounds headline grabby instead of just really maybe this is who this man is. Here it is right here. It's not the other things that you want.
And see, we might have been wrong by saying, well, the title is funny for one thing, because some of his fans said, well, why did you call it that? Why didn't you call it Short People? Or why didn't you call it You've Got a Friend in Me? Because I wanted it to be a serious book. I didn't want to be, right. I wouldn't have written the book if he hadn't written these other songs.
He's bigger than those two songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the purpose. That's the whole purpose of the book. And I'm sorry I'm being so outrageous today, but it just gets me angry.
No, we like anger. We like outrage. We're New Yorkers, for God's sake. We're in a constant state of outrage out here. We're 3 hours ahead of you. We're already pissed for the rest of the day. Are you kidding me? I'm done. It's really funny because there's such a, obviously his background is in arranging, and it was his uncle who was a very famous conductor.
Yeah, Alfred Newman. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to be confused with Alfred E. Newman. But there's almost like this break in his career where there's this, the Randy Newman, the troubadour, the singer-songwriter, Elton John is a fan, Dylan's a fan. And then he has like this huge hit, which still, with Short People, which is still kind of like a biting, sarcastic, controversial song, which would never get played on the radio today. Ever. No,
probably not.
No, but it's, and then it's almost like he becomes this whole other entity. There's that I Love LA, which is also very sarcastic. And then he becomes the guy who writes the songs that our kids love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a weird, I've never seen a career there's such of like, you can like him in the 70s and the 80s and have no awareness of the aughts and the 90s. And you can like him in the aughts and the 90s and have no awareness of him, writing Guilty,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he, the way his family is pushing him, his father is pushing him, everybody's pushing him to be a film score person. He's so intimidated because his uncle Alfred, he spent a lot of time when Randy was young, and his uncle was so insecure, he thought his success was a fluke. Don't go into this business. He would be so nervous. He would turn to Randy, who was 8 years old, and say, "What do you think of this?" So insecure. He says, "Well, how am I ever going to do this?" I live up to the success of the uncles, plus all this thing. So his best friend, whose father was a record company owner, happens to see how great Randy is, and he says, we ought to come over to pop music. And the great thing about that was he escaped intimidation. He now could go over to pop music and didn't have to compete with the uncles and stuff he was doing. And finally, when he gets enough confidence after 4 or 5 albums, Good Old Boys Sail Away, he gets the confidence to go into film scoring, and he does terrific. He gets 22 Oscar nominations. He wins Oscars. He's very good at it. But then and a lot of fans thought he had given up on pop music. But finally, in the early 2000s, he realizes that the album songs are his most significant work, and he wants to go back to those. And at the age of 60, he makes Bad Love, Harps and Angels, and Dark Matter. And Bob Christgau called Dark Matter the best album of 2017, and they're great records. They're as good as Good Old Sail Away and Good Old Boys. And it's at a time when most people in pop have long ago lost their edge and sharpness, but he's still got that.
Has he gone back and I know there's when you go on Spotify, there's like 9 million albums, but has he gone back in and revisited his catalog of late, or is he just sort of like, that was that, and now I'm working on other stuff?
Well, he did for Nonsuch, he did a solo album at the piano where he redid all his old songs and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And if he did a concert today, yes, he would still do. They're not different. They're linked. He's still writing about these topics, greed, and the terrible effect that has on society, because you look down at a social class and you don't take care of them and stuff. And that song Louisiana in 1927, they're trying to wash us away. It's a song about the government, the power brokers. All these people are not helping us. We're being flooded by this water twice, now. But he didn't realize Katrina, but that became the state anthem of Louisiana almost, because it's talking about.
For real, or just like
just because everybody loves it.
Okay.
And the fact that they don't protect the Ninth Ward, which was the lower income. They didn't keep them safe, and they're trying to wash us away. I mean, that's a fantastic song.
And Aaron Neville covering it sort of seals the whole connection.
Beautiful voice.
His songs, the covers of his songs, I mean, are who covered? I know Guilty, Bonnie Raitt did it. Linda Ronstadt did it. Did anyone cover Baltimore? Someone must have covered.
Maybe that's a beautiful song about the bird looking for his home or something like that.
Yeah.
But his earlier work, the songs from the first 3 or 4 albums got covered a lot. Ray Charles, Ella Fitzgerald, Dusty Springfield, Joe Cocker, Tom Jones, on and on, Peter Gabriel. But when
Peter Gabriel, what did Peter Gabriel cover?
I think he did, I don't know. I think he might have done, everybody did Sail Away at one time.
Right.
And everyone did, I think it's...
Actually, very famously, Nina Simone covered Baltimore from her album, Baltimore.
Wow, that's great. That's a beautiful song. I mean, there's so many beautiful songs. In the book, I have a line saying, somehow I say that this might all sound like hyperbole unless you've heard Randy Newman's music. I mean, the fact that it's so admired, but again, it's unheard. His biggest album might have sold 700,000, let's say. And, he wanted to have hits, but he wasn't going to sacrifice it. He could have been a really good, profitable songwriter if he kept writing songs like You Got a Friend in Me and those things. But he wanted to write about the social issues. And in doing so, he realized he was sacrificing sales, because radio's not going to play these things. So how's anyone going to hear them? Songs, I mean, they're so unique. You have the anger of Roll with the Punches, which is just, about this little kid and the rat in the room in the tenement house and stuff. And then there's a song called Mikey, which is so easy. It's this guy in a bar, they're this old couple, and they're looking at this old guys, and they're looking, whatever happened to the old days, Mikey? And they look outside, and there's a black kid, playing these colored kids, he says, in the streets now. There's these Mexican kids in the street now. And also he says, and whatever happened to the music? I think they're being critical of hip hop and stuff. And he says, how come they don't play things like the Duke of Earl? And the great thing about Duke of Earl was he was a black artist. I don't know if that's another satire, I think, of the song, but they reflect that in the good old days,
Do you hear anybody now who's sort of, I mean, I keep going back to this. I mean, those songs are so, I don't want to say they're prescient, because these issues have always existed. But has any country artist ever covered Good Old Boys, any of those songs?
Oh, no. These songs are too controversial. They're not going to get played on the radio.
But not even to get played on the radio. Just, I mean, like, I guess it would have to be the higher echelon of country artists.
I don't think so. I mean, I think if you look in the back of the book, we have I have songs that are most covered by him and stuff. You don't find almost anything from the Good Old Boys period after that. Because for one thing, an artist is not, if these songs, no one hears them and stuff, they're not going to be, a lot of times when you do a cover, you have the advantage, some people are going to remember this, it's going to be a nostalgia factor and so forth. There's none of that because people don't know the songs.
Right. How about, I'm sorry to keep going back to this, Courtney, but just imagine the idea of Sail Away. It would never, I don't even think a record company would release it now.
Well, I think it's fair to say that Rednecks was probably the most savagely defiant protest song ever recorded by a major label. And no one would get near that song now. And you're right, Sail Away, short people, a lot of these songs, again, they weren't played then. They're not going to be played today, which is a more.
So how do we know about them so much? I'm not trying to be funny about this. Like, how is it just because there was less outlets and you had to really seek things out? Because I mean, I was always into music. I mean, Courtney and I are both music people, but it wasn't like I was going for obscure. I'm a child. We're both children of Top 10 radio. We grew up in New York. We listened to Top 10 radio. We got into our music. How is it that he permeated so much? I mean, if he wasn't on the radio, I was certainly too young to see him tour. I mean, maybe I saw him on TV. I have no persona of him other than this kind of schlubby looking. I just remember him being kind of schlubby looking,
Well, he didn't permeate. He didn't play Madison Square Garden. He didn't play Shea Stadium. He played smaller places in town, Philharmonic Hall. And that's true. He played 2,000 and 3,000 seat theaters. He didn't, whereas opposed to James Taylor, who was in the same label and was selling 5 million when Randy was selling.
He was cute. James Taylor was cute.
No, but it's like, so it's like critics were very supportive of him. But in terms of album sales, and he did a lot of concerts, but they were usually small, medium-sized, small halls. He didn't play. I'm just amazed at how many tickets people can sell these days. They can, like, there was a band Oasis, from England, which was never.
No, never heard of them. No,
but they were never a big.
No, I'm obsessed with them. I
think they're very good. I love Liam singing. I love Noel's songwriting. But America rejected them totally. They thought they were jerks. They were working class English snotty kids, and America didn't like that. Where England, they did. 1 out of every 4 houses had their big album. Isn't that amazing? But so anyway, I thought they were going to do a world tour, come back for a world tour, and I said, I wonder if they're going to come to America because there was no big deal. And they aren't. They did come, and they were playing stadiums. They played the Rose Bowl, and I said, my God, how can they? They weren't popular then. How can they do that now?
And they just sold out worldwide in like an hour.
They sold out 2 days at the Rose Bowl. It's 150,000 tickets. And partly, so I talked to a friend of mine who's a concert promoter, and he says, well, there's a tremendous nostalgia factor for rock and roll. Any kind, where there isn't a great acceptance of rock and roll today. Rock and roll is a very minor part of the pops. So, but there's for the older, these older bands, Depeche Mode, anybody who comes can sell a lot of tickets, Who
are some, do you hear, I don't know if I asked you this, so you have to remember, do you hear him in anyone these days?
No, not consistently. No one since if we take 1963, Bob Dylan coming in, changing pop music, making people now sing about themselves, about the country, about issues. Before that, pop music was all the pop songs were written for movies or Broadway. Okay. Now in blues and country, you might have had people doing more those things, but that's what Dylan's influences were, blues and country. And he puts those together in rock and roll. And then people say, well, I'm not writing for movies. I'm writing about what I feel. Okay, and then we started the whole new thing. And there's nobody who's written as purposefully and as consistently about these issues as Randy, not even Dylan. I mean, because Dylan left. I mean, Dylan was traditional protest music. You know, you got to do this, you got to do that. And Randy didn't want to be part of that. That's why he wanted to find another way to address social issues without being, the straightforward protest kind of style.
We were talking before about our favorite sort of singer-songwriters, and Courtney, if it's all right with you, I'd like to ask you what you think, and you don't have to like them, but we were just talking about because
okay, I'll see on a scale of 10. I'll tell you 10.
yeah. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Because we were like, we weren't talking about strum guitar singer-songwriters. We were talking about people who sing, people who write songs. So Courtney, tell them what you're the ones that you picked that you're singer-songwriter.
So I'll give you a score. I'll give you a score after each one.
Yeah, you give score. It'd be like Gladiator. Kill him, don't kill him.
Mine were Fiona Apple.
Oh, I think she's very good. I'd give 7.5, 8.
Tina Marie, and then Luther Vandross.
I don't think of him as a singer. I mean, as a songwriter.
But he did. He wrote that, and that's the thing. I was like, people don't think of him as a songwriter. He wrote that entire first album. He wrote on every one of his albums. He may have had a co-writer on a couple of songs, and then there are the famous covers he did. But Luther Vandross wrote those albums.
Okay, but say Luther Vandross. I don't know. See, the fact that I don't think him as a songwriter is something missing there. I don't know.
But nobody does, and that's why I brought him up. I think people, when they think about Luther, we think about his voice. No one ever talks about the fact that he wrote those songs
and arranged so much. Yeah. He was an amazing arranger.
Well, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'd put his songs on a level of, Stevie Wonder, let's say, or
we weren't. We were going for I don't think anyone goes. I wouldn't put Bob Dylan on the level of Stevie Wonder, to be honest with you.
Stevie Wonder is in a category.
Curtis Mayfield. But I think Fiona is very, very good. Though I think she could be even. I think she's maybe an 8. She's really terrific.
All right,
I was also going to add Tori Amos in there because I'm a huge Tori Amos fan, and I think that some of the later albums have been like, I don't know what's going on here, but I think she's an amazing singer-songwriter. I love Tori. I love her.
Yeah. I just never got into her. I saw her live. I thought she was kind of pretentious.
Amy can't take her either. I feel like she's
I don't get it. It's like a noise I don't get here. It's like, I think it's part of it is because at that point in my career, I was sort of like Little Miss R&B, Little Miss Black music, and I was like, oh, whiny white people, I can't deal with it. All right. So mine were, when I go back and look at my old reviews, I was reviewing a ton of white. All right. Kirsty MacColl was someone I picked because I just think that she was just so great and such a great singer, such a great songwriter, so much more than Fairy Tale of New York. Chocolate Genius, Mark Anthony Thompson. You familiar with him at all?
Yes. I'm not familiar with the first one though.
Kirsty MacColl? Yeah. Kirsty MacColl. She was she wrote They Don't Know and Fairy Tale of New York, and she was married to Steve Lillywhite for a long time. Really? She's a great songwriter.
I've never heard her name mentioned in terms of great songwriters.
Oh, well, do me.
I've never heard. She's like an invisible person to me.
Listen to Kai. Again, we weren't going for the obvious ones because the obvious one to be, Lennon McCartney, Stevie Wonder, Prince.
Oh, how do you do that?
That would be like great. We don't have to listen to this show. They're just going to name Paul Westerberg.
I love him. He's a 9. He's a fantastic.
Did you make out with him?
I like. He was such a nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
Very depressed. He had a lot of depression. And I did an interview. I liked him better than I thought. In fact, Bob Moore, the guy, the New York Times.
Oh, yeah, who did that book.
He wrote a book on the Replacements. And the funny thing is, I read it in one night. The reason is I skipped all the chapters that weren't about Westerberg. I didn't care about the other guys in the band. But I have a
very emotional connection. So what do you think of his solo record?
Oh, I think they were fine. I really am a fan of Westerberg. And anyway, I met and talked, and he talked about his depression. And I said, my mom has a lot of depression too. And so I didn't see him for 3 or 4 years. And we did another interview. And the first thing he said was, "How's your mother doing?"
Oh, wow.
Amazing that you remember that. But I thought he was from Tim on. I thought
Well, the first time I interviewed the Replacements, and then I'll get to my last person, I was 8 months pregnant. So and they were still smoking and drinking and being lunatics. And I remember Tommy was like ranting and raving and cursing. And Paul looks at him and goes, "Shut up. She's pregnant. Watch your language." And I'm thinking, well, that's hilarious. Like the baby can't hear you. And then the next time I saw him was like a year and a half later, and I'm in Minneapolis, and he picks me up at the hotel, and he looks at me and he goes, "We've met before, right?" And I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "You look really different." And I went, "Yes, I had a full human since the last time you saw me."
Wow.
And that's when he had stopped drinking. Oh, so my last person I mentioned was Bobby Womack.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
You're a tough crowd, Bobby.
I don't think of his songs. No, I think of It's All Over Now. I think that's the song because the Stones did it and stuff.
Okay, I'm still going to go back to Luther Vandross is an amazing songwriter.
Yeah, you got
Okay, no,
hold on. I got to take up for my guy, Luther.
No, do it.
Because Luther Vandross is an amazing songwriter.
And he really is.
Let me just tell you something. That whole his debut, Never Too Much, is an amazing album, top to bottom. Busybody, amazing album. The Night I Fell in Love. Luther Vandross.
Power of Love.
So Courtney, he's on the same level as blank. Who would you put him? How high would you put him? Let's take Curtis Mayfield.
It's night and day.
Yeah, I think they're different types of songs.
No, of course they're different.
I would put him in a class with Curtis Mayfield. I think about the songs that he wrote for other people. Listen, he brought Aretha Franklin's career back from the dead with Jump to It, right? And Jump to It still to this day, you put that record on and people react to that like it is a new record. And everybody sings and dances to it. I think Luther records, Never Too Much, those songs are classic, especially in the Black community. You know what I mean? They are Black party staples, right? It's like If Only for One Night, which I don't know, I think maybe Brenda Russell might have written that, and that's one of his covers.
That sounds like a Brenda Russell kind of song.
I think he's just known for his vocals, but I put on Luther albums all the time, playing from top to bottom, and I think it's beautiful. And I
was playing a lot of Luther last week,
and
too,
I do think this documentary that's out is going to make people go back and dig into his catalog.
So
Would I say Stevie Wonder? No, but I don't think anybody writes like Stevie Wonder. Anybody.
Okay, so let's go into soul music. This is the thing I love. Who is the greatest soul singer, do you think?
Aretha Franklin.
No, okay.
Male or female? Are we going male or female? Can we write it up, male?
Franklin.
It's Aretha.
That's a good point. But
I vacillate honestly between Al Green and Bobby.
Really? But I'm also a Donny Hathaway guy, and I think that even though his career was short, those records are amazing, and he had one of those voices. I think Roberta Flack is underappreciated as a soul singer when you go back into that catalog.
Okay, so how about Otis Redding?
Yeah, but he wasn't around long enough to really.
But boy, he was as great as you.
No, he was good. But our picks. I mean, I'm not trying to defend it. We obviously Stevie. I mean,
I'm surprised you didn't start off with either Sam Cooke or Ray Charles.
Can I tell you honestly? I'm not young, but I'm not old. If that makes any sense. So I know who those guys were, and I heard them in hindsight. Sam Cooke, but I heard them I heard Aretha in real time. Okay, I heard Al Green in real time.
Ray Charles was the nebulous of soul.
Oh, I know, yes. I know. I heard that. No, but it's just like I heard them. I think it's like there's certain people who I can acknowledge their importance. But
Teddy Pendergrass.
Oh God, yeah.
Teddy Pendergrass, right?
Yeah.
That was another voice that was unparalleled.
So what I would say is what interests me is I thought Ray Charles was just unbelievable from in the early days, 50s, 60s, 70s, and I think he finally got a little bit, blender. But the person I never saw a show. I mean, I was so disappointed when I was a critic at the LA Times. A lot of the people who were my heroes, especially from the 50s and 60s, they weren't very good anymore. Even Chuck Berry was not very good. He would come on stage and run through it matter-of-factly. He didn't care. He just wanted his money. But the guy who every time I saw him, Al Green, he was just magic. He was just magic. From the second he walks on stage, he's got that electricity and stuff.
He just put out a single today. Did you see he's covering Everybody Hurts, which could either be terrifying.
Really wow.
It could be the most terrifying thing in the world, or it would be brilliant. I don't know. It could go. Yeah, Al Green. Yeah, like I said, it was, because listen, Courtney and I could sit there and we were both saying that we could do an entire show, or we talked about it, like Jill Jones or Raphael Sadiq. I think Raphael Sadiq is the closest in terms of Stevie right now, but he's not Stevie, and he would never, nobody ever, right, Courtney? Nobody has ever claimed he's one of those people. It's like, it's Stevie Wonder. And it's like, it's Prince.
You know what the worst thing about Stevie Wonder is? In fact, I wanted to do a book with Stevie, and he does, it takes years to get through the machinery and months. And finally they said, well, he's thinking of doing a book himself. So I think he's thinking of it. I don't know. But the worst thing about Stevie Wonder was doing an interview. He was always 3 hours late. Because he
doesn't know what time it is.
He'd be in the studio, and then he would just not, I'm sorry. And I can understand that. Then when he get there, he doesn't talk straightforward. He has a kind of a mystical journey of every answer. It takes usually 20 minutes. If you ask him, what day is this? He'll get to Tuesday, but it'll take him 20 minutes to get there because he's looking at it. He tries to be more responsive than just giving you the one answer. And so when you go back to your office, you'd have to transcribe all that. So you had to spend 4 hours of tape, and of which 30 minutes was useful, but the 30 minutes was great. And he was so much fun to be around. What a great, when Quincy Jones died, I was thinking even more than his music, I just loved the guy. Being able to talk to him, and he was so gracious and so generous. And Stevie has that quality too. You just feel it's a privilege, and it's fun, and it's
I was stunned. I interviewed him, and I remember thinking, I am so glad he can't see me, because I'm literally standing there staring at him, like my jaw dropping. But then in the middle of the interview, all of a sudden one of his aides comes over to me and goes, okay, you should probably maybe just go and walk around Atlanta for 2 hours. I'm like, why? And he goes, Stevie's asleep.
Yeah. It's like always waiting. It's always
I was like, is it something I said? And they went, no, he just goes to sleep. He just goes to sleep, and he's Stevie Wonder. And I'm like, oh shoot.
Well, Randy's favorite artists are. He loves classical music, I think, more than anything, Beethoven and Mozart and stuff. But in the people he always talks about is Fats Domino, whose vocal style is very similar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funny, one person was watching. Fats did a cover of a Randy song, and Randy was there. And the person was saying he didn't know if Randy was copying Fats or Fats was copying Randy, because they have that same kind of slur and casual thing. But the artist that he most admires is that he has that standard. He thinks he was so authentic. So every time he makes his record, he says, "Is this as authentic?" And he's talking about Ray Charles. And the album, wow. The Genius of Ray Charles, was the one that, that really made him.
Let me tell you why I said Aretha Franklin, because there's so many voices, right? I grew up on Aretha. Like, my mother is a huge Aretha Franklin fan. And so being little, I remember her voice a lot in the house, and Gladys Knight. Because I can go through a list, right? I think that you have a voice like Phyllis Hyman's, which is beautiful and unparalleled, and Angela Bofill, right, who I think is amazing and incredible.
Like Alicia Keys?
Can't stand her.
Right. I think that she's a very nice lady.
She's a very nice lady. Let me tell you something, Bob. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you a dirty secret, and then we'll wrap up. If you get a bunch of music people together, and you take them and you put them into the cone of silence, and you say, nobody will ever know this. Who's the most overrated singer of the 90s? Alicia Keys. She's a very nice lady.
Well. So what about?
She's a very nice lady.
So how do you rank Beyonce?
We're not allowed to talk about it.
Well, I just,
I think.
Okay, I'll tell you my honest feelings on Beyonce. I will. I think that she's very talented. Yeah. She's not my go-to voice, right? She's not my go-to voice. I appreciate her. When she is on stage, I think that you cannot touch her. She is absolutely brilliant on a stage. But when I'm having a moment and I'm in here and I want to play something and I want to sing along, she's not my go-to. It's not like Have I put on a Beyonce record? Occasionally, yes. I will go back to the album 4. I love that record from her.
Yeah, I think my favorite record.
I think 4 is a great record. But she's not. Like, I play Aretha Franklin all the time. Recently, I was having a moment, wanted to hear some voices, and I went into my Denise Williams section, and I've started playing some of her albums, and I think she's underappreciated, a voice that we don't speak about a lot. But Beyonce's not really the person I go to when I want to listen to.
It's interesting because since I left the paper, I don't keep up with music as much as I did, because when you're in the paper, you're spending 20 hours a day listening to music and stuff, and you get all the albums free. They come in, and now I'm writing books. You haven't got time to do that. So, but there's 2 artists that have puzzle me. I can't quite understand. How good they are at that. But one is Taylor Swift. I just don't.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. Not in a mean way. We are okay. Our and then we do have to. Our group opinion is great songwriter. We don't get it singer wise, but great. We just had Rob Sheffield on last week talking about.
Yeah, he wrote a book about it.
Yeah, and it's a great. Yeah, I mean, my feeling about Beyonce too is like she's really talented. She's got some great songs, but I never believe her. Whereas
that's right. That's right.
Mary, I believe every word coming out of Mary J. Blige's mouth. I don't 100%.
I think that's right.
Beyonce.
I don't feel emotionally connected to Beyonce.
No, I don't. But she's very talented.
I would even argue. I don't see these songs as great songs. I mean, I've listened mostly to the first album, which I thought was they were written for a 15-year-old girl, and that's fine. But there's no artistry in them. They're interesting feelings. Oh, I don't like this guy. Oh, this. But compare that to what Joni Mitchell was writing at that age.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, all right.
You don't like Joni Mitchell?
No, I love Joni. I'm a white woman of a certain age. Of course, I like Joni Mitchell. I'm just saying. I'm contractually obligated to like.
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand Taylor Swift. What is so good about her? I mean,
it's not ours. No, it's just one like of those a noise. It's a noise that you can't.
Right. It's just explain. One of those things where I look at her and I'm like, it is amazing. Your fans,
the level of success.
They are just, it is.
No.
Well, I have a friend who just spent the amount of a house down payment to fly to go to Toronto because he did not get tickets in the US. And he was like, I must see this tour before it ends. Wow. And I just was like, I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, there's just certain people.
Some of my critic friends really like her a lot, but I just can't. And I've tried.
No, but you either get something or you get something. I mean, like I said, there are certain people that I acknowledge her talent. I know she's really good. Our joking around about Alicia Keys, we acknowledge. It's like there's so much music you don't have to.
Yeah, but
I don't get it.
But the amount of time we spend with music, aren't we? Isn't that part of what we do? Is to evaluate and make judgments about people? Why are these people so mysterious to us? Why do they fly over our head? I never said.
Because it's like the same reason I'm upset.
It's the way I feel about the Smiths. Everybody talks about the Smiths, the legendariness of Smiths. I cannot stand the Smiths. I do not get it. I don't care. I do not understand why everybody.
I don't get Depeche Mode. I know they're talented. I don't get it.
No, that's right. There's some. You're right. There's a lot of things that we just don't care about. I've never been a big Smiths fan. I love a band called Jesus and the Mary Chain.
Oh, I love Jesus and the Mary Chain. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, and Stone Roses, I thought were from
Stone Roses. We're huge Pet Shop boys here. There are people who just don't get it. We're obsessed.
I love the record they did. They did a thing with Tammy Wynette, didn't they? Or Dusty Springfield. That was
Dusty Springfield.
The Reputation album. I love that album.
There's just certain people. It's like, why do you fall in love with who you fall in love with? You can't explain. There are just certain things. And I pride myself on having no rational reason for it. It's just like because I said so. I'm very because I said so. And we talk each other out of each other's, but we have to let you go. And I have to go because I have to go to my real job, which is learning the children. And Courtney has to work on putting the show together. So I want to plug the book again. And I'm holding it up so that nobody can see it. I don't know why I do this. I think I'm on an infomercial. A Few Words in Defense of Our Country, the biography of Randy Newman, Bob Hilburn. It's a great book. It's a fucking.
And thank you, Bob, for coming on. This was a great conversation.
No, it was really great.
It was really fun. I want to put my boxing gloves on.
Well, we've been up longer than you, and we were more caffeinated. We've already been out on the street fighting with people.
No, I'm up. I used to always go to the paper like 6:30 in the morning and write stuff, because
geez. Yeah.
because it was quiet. There was nobody around and stuff. Anyway, it's been great fun.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, to Courtney, take us out, please.
You know what it is, guys. Follow us every week on the Pantheon Podcast Network, where you can find us and in a plethora of other shows. Hey, and if you want to own a piece of the Pantheon Podcast Network, check out the Start Engine. It's time to invest. You can have a piece of us. You want a piece of us? Or as Brittany said, you want a piece of me? Join the Pantheon Start Engine, and we will see you next week at the same bat time on the same bat channel. Bye.